Okay, hi everyone. I think we're rolling. It's that time of the semester where I start bringing the book into the class. So I'm going to share my screen and I'm going to provide a voiceover of the slides of my book. So share a screen and here we go. Okay, then I'm going to go to from beginning. So there's about 53 pages of this total. I don't think I'm going to do that all in one segment. So I'm picking maybe three segments or four. We'll see how far I get today because it does involve me, drilling down on some of these topics. So here we go. Open Access Writing and Publishing Manual for Kutztown University Students 2022. And what I'm trying to do here, again, is I've been teaching writing for a very long time, and I've been teaching here at Kutztown for this is my 16th year. And what I've been noticing that is, once upon a time, we were in this distributed publishing environment where you'd have to do the writing, on your own or with your group or in your class, and then you would seek out a publisher to publish your material, New York Times or Newsweek or some blog or somebody's website, something like that. Now we live in this distributed environment, publishing environment, where any of us can create a blog and you can publish regularly. In fact, I have a news feed and I see it populated with material from people's blogs. If the material rises to a certain level, it can be picked up by the news aggregators. So I thought maybe we should, bring this the publishing mechanisms into the professional writing program, and so that's what I'm passionate about, and that's what I'm working on. So this is a manual, and as I move through the program with you and teach this stuff, I'm showing how to put together a book like this and what that should look like, and I'm going to eventually take this to Lulu and publish it there. I get to pick a cover, and I upload a PDF and all of that stuff. So if you're interested in publishing, come and talk with me. And of course, it's going to be running throughout all of my classes and throughout my work with the students at the Keystone. Okay. So the first thing that I'll point to here, I don't know if I can zoom in on this. I can, beautiful. And then I can do that. Okay. So I've added an image, and part of the instruction here relating to publishing is being aware of copyright issues. The days of just going online and grabbing an image from Google and then putting source Google, those days are gone. There are bots now that can crawl the web and find this material. And there are groups of attorneys that have come together essentially, and they will send you a bill. They will say, you ran our photo, you owe us $500. And then now, you're in negotiation. You either pay the $500. If you ignore them, that number can triple or quadruple. Now they're coming, at you with all kinds of things. So you want to make sure that you're doing that right. We will talk about Wikimedia Commons. We will talk about Pexel, and there's others. Take your own pictures if you can. What I posted here then is Cardinal Roberto Bellarmino at his desk, and the source is Wikimedia Commons, Creative Commons 0, public domain. So public domain means that it's free to use by anybody. And you'll also notice here that I've got Downing Writing and Publishing Manual 2022. So if you're putting together a book at some point in your life, you can use this as a model. So let me go to the next page. Okay, this would be considered the cover page, right? Is that right? Yeah, I'm trying to connect all the parts of my brain. Writing and Publishing Manual says first edition. So if I do more work on this, that would change, and then my name and stuff is here. So again, this is a model for you to follow if you're ready to put together a book at some point in your life. There's a copyright page here, and this work is governed by Creative Commons license, non-attribution, non-commercial 4.0. You are free to share, copy, and redistribute the material in any medium or format. You can adapt if you want to, remix, transform, and build upon the material. The licensor, meaning me, cannot revoke these freedoms as long as you follow the license terms under the following terms. So you must give appropriate credit here under attribution, provide a link to the license, and indicate if changes were made. You may do so in any reasonable manner, but not in any way that suggests the licensor endorses you or your use. You may not use the material for commercial purposes. No additional restrictions. So it's a pretty wide open Creative Commons license, again, which we will talk more about, in the classroom. But I want to introduce the idea of Creative Commons license. It is a legally binding agreement, and it's part of the open source movement. And what I'm after here is use my work. You can I'm saying to somebody, if there's a professor in California that wants to take this work and say, hey, I want to do a similar thing in my classroom, they can take it, they can modify, they can add chapters to it, but they must give me the attribution. They just can't right up here. They can't just erase my name and say, oh, this is mine now. No, they can't do that. They have to say, I'm building on the work by Professor Downing at Kutztown University of Pennsylvania, but they can't use it for commercial purposes. That's what I'm saying. My goal, one of my huge goals is, based on my background, I come from nothing. So, I want material to be free. I don't want students to have to be paying hundreds and hundreds of dollars for this material that that faculty and scholars can produce. So that's Creative Commons. And there's an ISBN number down here, and that is International Standard Book Number. It has not yet been generated because the book has not yet been published. Once I were to upload this to Lulu, they would assign an ISBN number to it, so it would become unique at that point. And if you did the same thing would happen. And Lulu's pretty easy to use. It's lulu.com. You put together your PDF, just as this is a PDF. This is a PDF that I've exported into PowerPoint, so it's now a slideshow. And you choose your cover, and it assigns the ISBN, so that goes on the cover of the book on the back page. I believe there's a barcode there. I have versions somewhere of previous publications around. I don't have it in my hand right now, but that will be managed for you as well, and it makes your book unique. Table of contents, I'm not going to go through this, but it should be a functional table of contents where if I click on any of these, it should go right to what I'm after. So that's pretty cool. So let's dive in. Here's the introduction. I'm not going to read all of this to you. It provides some background on my thinking here. And again, bringing the publishing mechanics into the classroom rather than just the writing in the classroom. And I don't mean to say just the writing, but only the writing, because for years I've watched, not just in our professional writing program, but all across English studies, we're really good at working with students to come up with a topic and do the research and draft and revise and peer review and edit. And then we pat you on the back and we say, okay, now go publish. So, I'm trying to pull that in-house and say, well, wait a minute, rather than the patting on the back and the sending you away, let's try to do that when we're here while we're working together. And that's what I'm passionate about. So for me, all of this begins with time management, right? Surprise, it doesn't begin with just writing, because you've got to, in my experience, you've got to carve out some time. So use a Google Calendar. I spend so much time working my Google Calendar, and through that, that's how I create, because I can time block. I can take a chunk of time on Saturday morning and say, I'm going to do some reading or some writing, even if it's an hour, maybe two. Don't work smarter, not harder, right? Don't say, okay, Saturday, I'm going to spend 7 hours on this. Who can do that, right? I can't do that. I need to break it down into chunks, and the Google Calendar helps you do that. You can color code things. So your projects begin with time, and time blocking is part of that. And that's why I have that here. There we go, time blocking. So that you can create those chunks of time to take care of whatever it is you need to. What I often find is I'll carve out a chunk of time, like an hour and a half, and what I'm working on doesn't even take that long. So I'm done, and I can take that task then and I can drag it many times to an earlier part of the day so that it is done. It's still in my calendar, but it's not in front of me now, it's behind me. Visualization and divination, that's a stub. I'm borrowing that from Wikipedia. This is kind of a wiki book where I'm doing the individual entries one at a time, and they're all pretty short, just to plant a lot of seeds. So I'll get back to that at some point, this stub. Working smarter, not harder. You'll hear that from me over and over. The shortest distance between 2 points is a straight line. Don't make a task more difficult than it needs to be. Difficulty in writing tasks, that emerges naturally, right? Because you need to figure out your thoughts and get them on the page in a certain order, and make sure you've looked up some things so that it all makes sense. Get somebody else to read it so you're not leaving anything out, or you're not repeating yourself, or that things are in the proper order. So there's a logical order. All of that stuff, is enough. So And I've watched students do this for years where they get a writing assignment and then they disappear for weeks because they've got to do all of this stuff. Stop, maybe like if you're in grad school and you're doing big projects, that sure, but at the undergraduate level, typically the idea is to get stuff turned around fairly quickly. We have 15 weeks together, so you can't take big chunks of time and disappear and then hopefully come back with a draft. Okay, so that's that, and you can read all this in greater detail if you like. Whoops, and here. Changing media landscape, that's what I'm talking about. Once upon a time, we had this centralized publishing model where you'd have to go to the New York Times or the Washington Post or the Wall Street Journal or Newsweek and say, please publish my stuff. Now you can set up a blog and press publish, and it's out there. But you've got to take some things into consideration before you do that. And that is getting another set of eyes on your work, making sure it's clear, making sure you've done your research, all those things that I've talked about. Revenue, yeah, I kind of want to skip past this because it goes a little deeper and maybe I need to move this to a different part of the book, but it was in my head at the time. It ties into audience really. So I guess I would tie this together by saying it is easier for student writers to be interested in your own world of interest, or for any writer, I guess. But if you're going to write professionally and move into the world, you have to increasingly take audience into consideration, right? So, I mean, I can sit here and write anything I want on my computer about what my interests are and my thoughts and all that stuff. And there may be a niche audience of people who think that I'm funny or insightful or whatever. But if I want a larger audience, I have to start thinking about meeting their needs and what is the value that they're looking for. So, back in the days when I was a tech writer and tech journalist, I was always, it's all you think about is your audience. What do they need to know? There's a new chipset available. There's a new hard drive available. There's new technology relating to fiber optics that they need to know about. So they need to know about price points and what this replaces and what it's intended to do and what the specs are, and all of that stuff needs to be provided. So think more and more about audience. And this ties into advertising or subscription because, if you're going to go into publishing, you need to think about who your advertisers are. And that same audience that you're after with your writing is the same audience that your advertisers are after. So Motorola and Intel and Texas Instruments and, Microsoft and all those companies, they're interested in reaching that audience that you're writing for. Developing an area of expertise. Excuse me. I'm pausing a bit on that one just for dramatic effect. When I talk to my former professional writing colleagues who continue to work in the industry, and I ask them, what is the number one piece of advice you would give to undergraduate professional writing majors? They say, without hesitation, tell your students to develop an area of expertise that is outside of professional writing. Any topic, climate change, video game trends, cooking, travel, money. Do the reading, do the writing, publish through your various channels, your blog, your social media channels, and then contribute to established websites. Connect to people that are out there who are like-minded, that are doing similar things. On campus, we at the Keystone newspaper are looking for content all the time, and we've opened our structure so that it's not just news and like campus happenings and sports. We are interested in other types of informative material. So if you've written a paper, for example, for an academic paper, for a literature class, and it's 10 pages long, if you can squeeze that down to 2 or 3 pages and give us the key parts of it, we're interested in publishing that under academic. If you're in technical writing class and you've done some technical writing on solar panels, we're interested in that. It needs to be driven by facts. So tell us who's installing solar panels and how much do they cost and where are they at, and all, bring us up to speed on all of that. And we're interested in that. Okay. Blogs and WordPress. So if you're an audience of mine right now, you're probably in my classes, and we are all working on blogs, WordPress blogs right now to get them up and running. My major focus with all of this is to provide for you portfolio material so that by the time you graduate, you've got publications in the Keystone, maybe Essence, maybe Shoofly. The Keystone offers a number of ways to get published. First of all, you can write a story. Second, you can create a video based on that story, where you write the story and then you just do what I'm doing now. You open Zoom and you say, so, blah, 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 here's what I've been looking at. Solar panels, for example. Did you know that each day in the United States, 1 million solar panels are installed? I hope, I wish. We'll see. But you can do that 60 to 90 seconds and you're on your way with that. You can also take photos that accompany all of this. All of that can go either onto your resume, or also what I teach is an additional page, a supplemental page that goes along with your resume, your list of publications. And those can be videos, it can be photos, it can be stories in the Keystone, and again, creative material for Essence or Shoofly. There's also Her Campus. If you're publishing as part of your internship, make sure that, if you're able to record that information as well. Okay. Google Alerts then. So much of what I'm talking about today is based on conversations that I've had with students over time. So students come to me and say, well, this sounds cool to set up a blog and I want to become an expert in these things. So one component of that is setting up a Google Alert. Simple to set up. All you need to do is type in to a browser, Google Alerts, and it'll bring up a page for you. Then you put in a search term. So for me, for years, I'm an August Wilson scholar who was a playwright from Pittsburgh, and I used to do the August Wilson blog, and I had a Google Alert set up quite simply with August Wilson. So once a week, then it would email me all these Google results, and I would open it because I would forget. And then I would open the email and I'd be like, oh, okay, one of his plays is going to happen in California, and they're dedicating something to him in Pittsburgh, and this and that. I'd get 4, 5, 6, 7 things. And it was more and more as time went by because his name is getting larger and larger. So if you're interested in water pollution or recycling or whatever it is, set up a Google Alert for yourself. That will then send you multiple articles. What you should do then, what I teach is that you should compose with your phone. You read an article or two, let it sink in, and then you pull out your phone. And what I do is, I can take you through it right now. I go into Gmail. They show you that. There's Gmail. Then there's a compose. And now I've got this blank slate here. So in the compose email window, I open the voice typing. And as I talk, it should start to type all of that material. So today I read an article from the New York Times that talked about August Wilson, period. There's a new play of his that's going to be put on at the August Wilson Theater in Manhattan, and it's going to run from October 15th to November 15th. It's going to be directed by so-and-so and. And I email that to myself, and I can generate in seconds hundreds of words. Now, do I need to get to that? Yes. Do I need to copy and paste that into a Word document and then revise it? Yes. Do I need to remove any sort of weird vocal components? Yes. So it sounds more like writing than talking. Yes, all of those things. But it is infinitely easier, for me anyway, to talk these ideas because I can't speak as fast as my brain works. And then instantly, like I said, I've got a word count. And connected to this is I teach writing down, not up. So if I've got an article that I have to give to my editor and it's supposed to be 800 words, it's better for me to generate 1,200 words, maybe 1,100 words, and then squeeze out the stuff, the redundant stuff, the verbose stuff, any of that I don't need. Get rid of it, bring it down to 800, rather than typing up from the bottom. And as soon as I hit word 800, I press period and then I say, I'm done. Okay, that's not how professional writers work typically. Okay, developing a professional narrative. So this is extremely important. If you're in my classes, you're setting these up on your blogs. It's an about page, essentially. And where I'm coming from on this is, and I can jump to the end of the slideshow. Well, we'll get there available, but eventually. But what you'll see if you go online, like to Screen Rant or any number of websites, you'll see an author's name. And next to the author's name, there's a little image of them smiling, right? And then there's a brief little description. My name is Chuck Jones, and I've written 200 articles on, Game of Thrones or something like that. And in my spare time, I like to go for walks with my dog, or right? I mean, you see this stuff. So then I'm looking at what we're producing on campus, and I'm looking at the Keystone newspaper. I'm not seeing any of that. It's like let's bring these publishing components into the program and into campus, so that by the time you set foot off of campus, you're already in the mix. Okay. Professional narrative, then a photo, brief personal background, writing interests, personal tidbit. That's how I teach that. Mine is here. When I turn this into a PDF, it lost the image, but mine says longtime professional technical writer and journalist who now teaches technical writing at Kutztown University in Pennsylvania. Interested in AI as it relates to writing and audio video production. August Wilson scholar and lover of Audible. Recently converted a van into a camper and loving every minute of it. So that's my first draft. Maybe I'll change it in time, but that's the first thing you get out there. Okay. Always write in Word. Professional writers typically compose in Word or Google Docs to make sure they have a copy of the material. And the reason I'm pointing this out is because there are fields online that you sometimes write into, and those fields in the cloud can sometimes reset or disappear or glitch. And even if they don't, and you're able to submit, it all disappears and you may never see it again. So as writing practice, it's a good idea to keep a copy of the material. Again, especially if you're going to be a professional writer, but even as an average person, I've taught this skill to countless people who are my friends who are not professional writers, who are thankful for it. They're like, damn, I'm glad that I saved a version of that because I have it now. Because when it, you know what I mean? As soon as you press send, it's gone. You may never see that again. And it's like, what did I say? Did I include the details that I needed to? Windows H and composing by phone. Windows H on a PC will activate the microphone, and it will allow you to speak text into a Word document. So my phone is better about understanding my speech than Word is right now, but you can definitely use it. There's write down, not up. I already talked about that. Reading it's incredibly important. I mean, you can't write without reading. So Google alerts, read the material, seek it out. The more you read, the more you'll know. It'll all sink in and percolate. And the goal for me, especially with professional, because I teach in professional writing, so that this is what I'm teaching, but this is good for any college graduate, is that by the end of your time with me, I'm hoping that you've read enough and written enough so that you become kind of an analyst, right, in the field, where you know more than the people around you. Now, are you going to know more than somebody who's been in the field, in your particular field, for 30 years? No, but you know more than your peers about that topic because you've read 4, 5, 6 articles on it and you've done some writing. Okay. Second part of this is you'll know more about your audience. So if you're 22 right now and you're a professional writing major, your audience is like 8 years old. I know they're not there yet. Give yourself 10 years. You'll be 32. They'll be 18. They'll be coming into college. So the material that you're cranking out at that point about whatever, television shows and movies or culture or music or whatever, they'll now be coming into college and reading your stuff. And in another, 10 years beyond that, you'll be 42 and they'll be what, 28? See what I'm saying? That's who you're writing for. So read over time and write over time, and then time starts to take care of the rest here. Interviewing audience. Okay. I'm starting to run out of gas here, so let me get through this page and then we'll stop at audience. Interviewing is super important, and there's different kind of interviews, but the easiest way to add value to anything that you're writing is to talk to somebody. Talk to an expert. They can give you information, tons of information, because if you come to see me about writing, or August Wilson, right, in 15 minutes I can load you up with tons more information that you can use, where you could flail around online for hours trying to figure out who this August Wilson person is, or you can come get it from me in a nutshell in 5 minutes. See? And then the other part of the interview, again, is it's value add. So yeah, anybody can sit there at their computer and read stuff and then put together a story. once upon a time, that was unacceptable. The rules have changed. People put together news stories based on looking at Twitter, right? What are people's reactions to the Steeler game on Sunday and all of that? So that exists. I admit it exists. But if you can call somebody, right? I can write a story about the Steelers, but boy, if I can talk to Mike Tomlin, who's the coach, or anybody associated with the team, or even their PR person, right? Their media person, that's a big value add. That takes me up a level beyond what other people are just doing because maybe I watched the game and read an article and then wrote a story. It's just not as good. So if you're looking to be a professional writer, think about talking to somebody. And then finally, so I'm on page 14. Maybe yeah, but maybe I can get to page 17. Oh well, maybe I'm good though now that I'm looking at this because there's exercises at the back. So I am going to stick to my plan. I'm just going to stop here, see how long it is. I usually time it with my phone, but I forgot to set that up today. So finally, for today, for this segment, audience. Audience goes hand in hand with writing. It's probably the consideration that I personally think about most when I'm developing a message. I already spoke to this a bit, but as a professional writer, I'm thinking about audience all the time. So as you all grow into your writing, you need to start moving beyond your own interests, or I should say this, marrying your interests with interests of a particular audience so that you can strike that right note. And I see it all the time. So there's this the Rings of Power, which is being released on Amazon, and millions of people are watching The Rings of Power. It's tied to J.R.R. Tolkien's books and The Hobbit and The Lord of the Rings and all that stuff. And then I see the articles start to pop up on Screen Rant, and they're covering it on a regular basis. So they're getting lots of people dialing into their website. They can turn around then and sell ads saying, "Look at the hits that we get." And you can see all that as you all all of you that are in my classes are creating blogs. You can look at your statistics, and right now you're getting one visitor, two visitors a day. But Screen Rant, I don't know how many visitors they get a day. It could be thousands, tens of thousands. I don't know if they're into the millions on this stuff. But you can turn to an advertiser or whatever agreements you strike with Google as they pump their ads in the world, right? And you get a larger chunk of the pie because you've got people looking at your material. Okay, I'm going to stop the share then for now, and I'm going to stop the recording, and then I'll take up with another recording at a later date. Thanks.